Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Celsius Holdings, Inc. They're a company that's really making some noise in the energy drink market.
Yeah, they've been pretty impossible to miss lately.
For sure. And in this deep dive, we're going to be trying to break down their business model, taking a look at their financials, and trying to see if all the hype is actually backed up by the numbers. So, ultimately, is Celsius a smart investment for folks like you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think one of the most interesting things about Celsius is that they're really marketing themselves as a healthy energy drink, which is a pretty bold claim.
Right. It almost seems like a contradiction in terms, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Healthy and energy drink.
Yeah, you don't usually see those two words together, but I think that's a big part of what's driving all the interest from consumers and, of course, investors.
For sure. It definitely makes them stand out from the crowd.
Yeah.
And speaking of standing out, stick around to the end of this deep dive because we're going to be revealing a surprising connection between Celsius and another really big player in the beverage industry, one that you might not be aware of.
Okay, so getting down to basics. Celsius develops, markets, and distributes these functional energy drinks and liquid supplements. And their main selling point is that they offer, a healthier alternative to those traditional energy drinks. So they're really appealing to, those fitness and health conscious consumers.
Right. So you can think of them as the go-to drink for people who want that energy boost, but without all the sugar and artificial ingredients you find in the other brands.
Right. And I think that's a big part of their appeal.
So their flagship products is called Celsius, and it comes in a variety of different flavors and formats.
Yeah, like they have the ready-to-drink cans, the powdered versions, even performance drinks that have added amino acids.
And they haven't been shy about expanding their product line either. They've got the non-carbonated options, the electrolyte powder sticks, really trying to cater to a wide range of, consumer preferences.
It seems to be working for them.
Yeah, they're clearly hitting a sweet spot with consumers. But what about the people, leading the charge? Who are the masterminds behind Celsius's success? And are there any, hidden issues or potential red flags that we should be aware of?
Well, Celsius is led by a team with a ton of experience in the beverage industry. And their CEO, John Fieldly, he's really been, a driving force behind the company's growth, especially since he took over back in 2018.
Okay. And there's always a but in these situations. There have been some concerns, right, about transparency, particularly when it comes to their financial reporting.
Yeah, that's true. There have been some questions raised about, management's commitment to being completely open with shareholders.
And these aren't just vague rumors, are they? There have been some pretty serious allegations, including lawsuits alleging misleading disclosures and even past financial restatements. What exactly are these lawsuits about, and how could they impact Celsius moving forward?
Well, basically, the lawsuits allege that Celsius hasn't been entirely forthcoming with investors about certain aspects of their business, particularly their relationship with PepsiCo, which is their largest distributor. They also raise some concerns about the accuracy of, some past financial statements.
That's concerning. Makes you wonder if there are any, skeletons hiding in the financial closet. Speaking of which, let's dive into the numbers. Are they really as financially healthy as they seem on the surface?
I think it's a bit of a mixed bag. On the one hand, they have really impressive revenue growth, healthy margins, and a debt-free balance sheet. They've been generating strong profits, which is a big plus for investors.
Okay, yeah, that all sounds incredibly promising. But you said it's a mixed bag, so what's the other side of the story?
Well, while they are profitable, there have been some inconsistencies in their financial performance. And some of those inconsistencies seem to stem from challenges they've had, managing inventory with PepsiCo. So these, bumps in the road have raised some questions about their ability to sustain profitability and, really deliver consistent returns to investors over the long haul.
So it seems like their relationship with PepsiCo is, a bit of a double-edged sword. They're clearly benefiting from, the distribution power of such a giant, but it's also creating some potential headaches.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. It definitely adds a layer of complexity to their story. But before we get too deep into that, let's take a step back and kind of gauge the overall market sentiment towards Celsius. What's the vibe?
Yeah, okay. So what's Wall Street saying? Are they buying into all the hype, or are they hitting the brakes?
Well, it's a bit of a split decision, actually. You've got some analysts who are super bullish on Celsius. They're predicting some, pretty significant upside potential for the stock. And they really see the brand's strong growth trajectory, the popularity of those, health-focused products, and obviously that key distribution partnership with PepsiCo as like the major drivers of their future success.
Gotcha. But I'm sensing a however coming.
Haha, of course. There are also some analysts who are a little bit more cautious, and they've recently lowered their price targets for Celsius. And their concerns really stem from, the potential for slowing growth and some pressure on those profit margins that we talked about earlier.
Right. So it sounds like those inventory issues in that shareholder lawsuit have definitely spooked some investors. The stock price has taken a bit of a hit lately, hasn't it?
It has, which, suggests the market is taking more of a wait-and-see approach right now. But speaking of investors, let's maybe shift gears a little bit and examine the ownership structure of Celsius. Because knowing who owns the majority of the stock can actually give us some pretty good insights into their level of confidence in the company.
Right. So if, the big institutional investors are holding, a significant stake, that's generally a good sign, right? Shows that they believe in the company's long-term prospects.
Yeah, exactly. And in Celsius's case, institutional investors do hold, a pretty sizable portion of the shares. So that does seem to suggest a certain degree of confidence in their future.
Okay. But I'm guessing there's a flip side to this as well.
Well, yeah, there is one thing that kind of stands out. Insider ownership is relatively low. And to add to that, there's been, some insider selling recently, which can sometimes, raise a red flag for investors.
Well, it's almost like they're saying, we believe in the company, but we're also hedging our bets a little bit.
Yeah, you could interpret it that way for sure. It's definitely, something to keep an eye on.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've looked at Celsius's business model, their management team, their financials, and even the market's perception of them. But how do we actually pull all of this together and kind of assess the overall risks and opportunities that are facing the company?
Well, a really helpful way to do that is through a SWOT analysis, which, stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. It's a pretty classic framework for, evaluating a company's competitive position.
Okay, perfect. So let's break down Celsius's SWOT analysis. Starting with their strengths, what are they doing really well?
Well, they've built, some incredible brand recognition, particularly among their target market, those health-conscious consumers. And their product portfolio, with this focus on, healthier alternatives, really does set them apart in this crowded market. And we can't forget about that strategic partnership with PepsiCo, which gives them, pretty unparalleled distribution power.
Right. They've also been really smart about, leveraging technology, building a strong digital loyalty program, and they're making some pretty good strides in terms of sustainability, which, really resonates with consumers, especially, the younger generations. So what about their weaknesses? Where do they have some room for improvement?
Well, one notable weakness is that they're pretty heavily reliant on the North American market. They haven't really diversified geographically as much as some of their competitors. And their profitability, while strong overall, has been, as we talked about, a bit inconsistent. And then there's also, the potential downsides of that dependence on PepsiCo that we already mentioned. If that relationship were to go sour, it could have a pretty significant impact on their business.
Right. So it really seems like, their reliance on PepsiCo is, both a strength and a weakness. Okay, so we've covered those internal factors. What about external opportunities? Where could Celsius, really capitalize on market trends and kind of accelerate their growth?
Oh, there are definitely some exciting opportunities out there for them. International expansion is a big one. Just imagine the potential if they can replicate their North American success in, Europe, Asia, and other parts of the world. They could also, explore strategic acquisitions, maybe buy up some smaller competitors to expand their market share or their product portfolio.
Yeah, and, the health and wellness trend is only getting stronger.
Right.
So they're in a great position to, capitalize on that, really tap into that consumer shift towards healthier options.
Totally. But of course, there are also some threats that they need to be aware of. The competition in the energy drink market is fierce, right? Monster and Red Bull aren't just going to sit back and watch Celsius steal all their market share.
For sure. And then there are always the potential, regulatory hurdles, economic downturns that could impact, consumer spending, and those supply chain issues that have already caused some headaches.
Exactly. And you can't, ignore the potential for shifting consumer preferences. What if the health and wellness trend fades? Or, what if a new, even healthier alternative emerges?
So it seems like, Celsius is walking this tightrope.
Yeah.
between like incredible potential and some pretty significant risks.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Investing in Celsius is definitely a calculated risk. There's a lot to like about their business, but it's really crucial to weigh those positives against, the potential downsides.
So to wrap things up, Celsius is this really fascinating company. They have this compelling growth story, a product that's clearly resonating with a lot of consumers. But as with any investment, it's really important to, carefully weigh both the potential rewards and the risks, right?
Absolutely. Investing in Celsius, isn't a guaranteed win. It requires a pretty thorough assessment of, their intrinsic value, taking into account everything we've discussed, their financials, their management, the competitive landscape, the broader market trends. It's a lot to consider.
It is. And now for the twist I promised at the beginning. Yeah. Remember how we talked about Celsius's, crucial partnership with PepsiCo? Well, here's where things get really interesting. PepsiCo isn't just their distributor. They're also, believe it or not, one of their biggest competitors in the energy drink market.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, PepsiCo owns brands like, Rockstar and Mountain Dew Kickstart, which directly compete with Celsius's products. So it creates this kind of, fascinating dynamic where PepsiCo is both, helping Celsius grow, but at the same time, they're trying to, outmaneuver them in the market.
It's a delicate balancing act for sure. So what do you think? What are the long-term implications of this, this relationship for Celsius? Could it ultimately, hinder their growth? Or, does PepsiCo's distribution power kind of outweigh those, competitive concerns?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. And, it's one that I think a lot of investors are going to be watching very closely. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Celsius kind of navigates this, this complex relationship as they continue to, try to expand and grow their business.
Yeah, it definitely adds like another layer of, intrigue to their story.
Well, we've covered a ton of ground today, and we'd love to hear your thoughts. What stands out to you about Celsius? Do you think they're a buy, a hold, or a pass? Head down to the comments section and let us know your take. And while you're there, feel free to share any other stock suggestions that you'd like us to, deep dive into in future episodes.
Yeah, we always appreciate your insights and engagement. And hey, if you're looking for more, in-depth stock analysis like this, don't forget to subscribe to the Stock Analytics AI YouTube channel. We're always, putting out new content to help you make those, smarter investment decisions. And just a quick reminder, this deep dive was, powered by AI, which helped us go through, mountains of data, really try to surface the key takeaways. But as with any tool, AI has its limitations. So, as always, do your own research, consult with a financial advisor before making any, investment decisions.
Yeah, we're here to give you, insights, information, but ultimately, you're the captain of your own financial ship.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Celsius Holdings, Inc. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and, happy investing.